completed the BNSS, BNSS not BNS, Bharati Nya Sanhita, section up to 33. We have already completed section 33 till 33. So today we are continuing from the same section number 34, that things done in private defense is no offense. Nothing is an offense which is done in a private exercise of right of private defense. It is simply saying that if you are exercising and the right of private defense and you have done something, it will not amount to be offense. But in later sections we understood in which circumstances it will apply, and until when or till when the private defense exists, from beyond certain point it will exist or not. Okay, so we will move to the section number 35. So section number 35 says that right of private defense of body and of property. So every person has a right subject to the restriction contained in section 37 to defend his own body and the body of any other person against any offense affecting the human body. B. The property, whether movable or immovable, of himself or of any other person, against any act which an offense falling under the definition of theft, robbery, mischief, or criminal trespass, or which an attempt to commit theft, robbery, mischief, or criminal trespass. So it is very important here. Is it is saying that if any person can exercise the right of private defense, and but subject to the restrictions uh, available or have subjectified in the section number 37. So you can exercise your right of private defense subject to the exceptions or exceptions put into the section number 37. And it is saying that anyone can exercise private defense to defend his own body and others body affecting any human body. Means you can defend yourself and you can defend other person also against any offense that may affect your human body. And the subclause B also state that you can defend your property whether it is movable or immovable. Okay, and other persons also against. But in property there is only 3 4 uh, things against you can use your private defense. You can use the private defense, that is a theft, robbery, mischief, or criminal trespass, or which an attempt to commit theft, robbery, mischief, or criminal trespass. So you can have the private defense against any harm to the human body of yourself or another. Okay, then you have a private defense for property when property of yours or others having subject to the theft, robbery, mischief, and criminal trespass. Okay, so I think you will understand this ओनली इट इज़ बहुत ही सिंपल है यार. प्राइवेट डिफेंस हम कब कर सकते हैं? पहले तो अपने बॉडी के लिए बचाने के लिए कर सकते हैं और दूसरे की बॉडी के लिए बचाने के लिए कर सकते हैं. ओके, और फिर प्रॉपर्टी के लिए क्या होगा कि प्रॉपर्टी के लिए सिर्फ 4 चीज़ों के अगेंस्ट में हम प्राइवेट डिफेंस यूज़ कर सकते हैं. दैट इज़ थेफ्ट, सेकेंड इज़ रॉबरी, थर्ड इज़ मिसचीफ, एंड फोर्थ वन इज़ ट्रेसपास. So we are moving to the section number 36. Right of private defense against act of person of unsound mindness. So it is saying that we have earlier have read the exception that says that Nothing is an offense that was done by the person in unsoundness mind state. Okay, the person, the, there is a two scenario here. The first scenario is that the person is ordinarily unsound. Okay, means he have the permanent unsoundness of body, unsoundness of mind. First thing. Second scenario says that a person is sound mind, but in doing any act he is in unsound state. Okay, we have read that exception in previous sections, but now here is saying that right of private defense, if some person in a unsoundness mind, he is committing or attempting to commit rape or murder, so it is rightful? No, it is not rightful. Although it is not rightful, if he is going to rob you, if he is threatening you, if he is sound person is causing harm or injury to you, it is simple or grave, so that in that case you also have private defense. Okay, that this section is saying that any person, whether he is unsound person, either he is permanently unsound person, or if he ordinarily he is in a sound person but doing that act he unsound person, then also you can exercise your right of private defense, that this section is explained. And this I'm going to read their section. When an act which would otherwise be certain offense is not that offense by reason of the youth, the want of maturity of understanding, the unsoundness of mind, or the intoxication of the person doing that act, or by reason of any misconception on the part of that person. Every person has the same right of right defense against that act which he would have if that were that offense. Okay, so it is simply saying that you have a right of private defense. It says that if any act is an offense, but if it is done by or in pursuance of or immaturity or intoxication or unsoundness of mind, that will not invalidate or take away your right of private defense, because act is act is offense, but if it is done by the youth or immaturity or unsoundness mind, or whether in intoxication, that will not take away your right of private defense. It is simply saying that means you have the private defense against them all, whether it is a children, whether it is a intoxicated person, whether it is a unsound person, or whether it is due to some misconception of fact, you have private defense. Let's see the illustration. A. Z, a person of unsound mind, attempts to kill A. Okay, Z is guilty of no offense, but A has the same right of private defense which he would have if Z were sane. Okay, so it is simply saying that if unsound person, that is Z, due to his unsoundness is trying to kill A, so the unsoundness, the person who is insane or unsound, he has the exception that protect him. But here, although it is not an offense for that unsound person, but A has the same right of private defense which he would have if that were same. So it is simply clearly why this section is incorporated. It is just said it is incorporated to clarify the previous section, that says that the person of nothing is an offense. Any act done by the person of below the person of 7 years is no offense. Any offense that is no offense from the person or child done in age of 7 to 12. Any person having intoxicated, he can plea or he can uh, pray that he is intoxicated, he is unsound in that moment. So to clarify that section, here is saying that uh, it is not mattering who is against you, and it does not matter who is against you. If someone is attacking you or harming your body, if someone is attacking your property, you have definitely having to have private right of private defense, and you can use it. So this is section E, that Z is an unsound person, that due to unsoundness he is attacking or try to killing A. A has same right as it were done by the Z in sane state. So we can now read clause B. A enters by night in a house which he is legally entitled to enter. Z in good faith taking A for a housebreaker attacks A. Here Z by attacking A under this misconception commits no offense. But A has the same right of private defense against Z, which he would have if Z were not acting under that misconception. So it is clearly saying that if I have a house and in my house there are many people, or okay, what happened, one relative is come to stay in my house. I went to and in night I went to buy some grocery, and in coming, so I have a cap. I bought some cap and I have my put on to my head, and I am entering in my house. But my relative think that I'm a housebreaker and he is starting or abusing me. Okay, so he is immune because he is acting under the private I mean he have exception, but I have also the right if he is try to kill me. So it is so important to understand that interest right means you have right of property, right of private defense against anyone who is insane, sane, whatever the person is. And if only you have to remember one thing, that the right of private defense for property only occurs for four things. First, theft, robbery, or I also just one second na? Mischief to the property or criminal trespass. So now we are moving to section number 37. Act against which there is no right of private defense. So it is the exception against which we have already dealt in section 35, that I mentioned that you have a right of private defense except in every situation except in circumstances. So we are going to read as there is no right of private defense. It is saying that in which cases there is no right. The first clause is against an act which does not reasonably cause the apprehension of death or of grievous hurt if done or attempted to be done by a public servant acting in good faith under colors of his office, though the act may not be strictly justifiable by law. It is saying that mostly if you have not a right of private defense against a public officer who is in color of his office, he is doing some act but it is not justifiable by law, but the apprehension or conclusion, you have that apprehension or you are catching from his act that it will not cause the grievous hurt or death. So here is important is that if a public officer comes in his colors of his office and is doing any act that is not justifiable by law, like we can simply take the example of police. Police have certain restrictions. He will not beat you without your anything else, take without your mistake. One day one police officer is coming near you and start beating you, then you have not start beating you means he is simple heart type, but he is in office, he is carrying something, but the thing is that he is doing his office, he is doing his work, but it is not, the beating is not justified by the law. Okay, but the apprehension, the one is, what is apprehension one may from his act, that it will not amount to the death or grievous hurt. Then if a police officer is go beyond that point, that when you have the apprehension that now he will doing certain act that is not justifiable by the law and will definitely cause the death and grievous hurt to someone, then you will do use or exercise your right of private defense, otherwise you cannot. So when let's see the B, against an act which does not reasonably cause the apprehension of death of grievous hurt, if done or attempted to be done by the direction of a public servant acting in a good faith under color of his office, so the direction may not be strictly justifiable law. It is simply the similar to section number one, that it is someone is acting in good faith in direction or in furtherance of direction of a public officer. It is not strictly justifiable by law, but it may not creating an apprehension in your mind that it will cause the death or grievous hurt to your body or some other person's body. Okay. And see, in cases in which there is a time to have recourse to the protection of the public authorities, and she is saying that in those times when you have a right, when you have a time to get the help from someone else or some public authorities, to get the help of police, then you will not exercise the right right of private defense. Then clause second, the right of private defense in no case extend to the inflicting of more harm than it is necessary to inflict for the purpose of defense. It is saying that if someone is putting more effort and if someone is try to kill you from stick, okay, if someone come from a stick and start beating you, so you will not definitely you will draw, you will get the some gun and shoot him. It is not like that. If if someone is start throwing stones on you, you will just crush them or shoot them. So it is saying that if in private defense you will you will use reasonable amount of force. Okay, if someone is beating you from hands, you will definitely beat you will use private defense through your hands or some reasonable methods or like stick or something, but you will not definitely carry the gun and shoot him. So that is not, there is explanation is also there. So we are first read the explanation first. A person is not deprived of the right of private defense against an act done or attempted to be done or by a public servant as such unless he knows or has reason to believe. इसमें क्या बोल रहा है कि आप ए के पास कब राइट होगा, जब उसको लगे या फिर ये लोग कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि उस टाइम पे वो क्या है, डिप्राइव नहीं होगा ये। कब डिप्राइव नहीं होगा उसका राइट ऑफ प्राइवेट डिफेंस, जब कोई एक्ट किया जा रहा है या फिर करने की कोशिश की जा रही है प्राइवेट सर्वेंट्स के द्वारा या फिर किसी के भी द्वारा, और जब तक कि उसको ये ना पता हो, मतलब ये सिंपली बोल रहा है कि अगर कोई प्राइवेट सर्वेंट कोई एक्ट कर रहा है तो, और सामने वाले पर्सन को नहीं पता है कि ये प्राइवेट सर्वेंट है, तो तब तक वो अपने आता है कि दैट द पर्सन इज डूइंग एक्ट इज फ्रॉम सर्टेन ऑफिसर और इज ओके। So it is very important to understand the explanation also, that it gives you better idea. Explanation second, a person is not deprived of the right of private defense against an act done attempted to be done by the direction of public servant unless he knows or has reason to believe that the person doing the act is acting by such direction, or unless such states the authority under which he act, or if has authority in writing unless he produces such authority if demanded. So it is very similar to the first explanation, that if someone is carrying out the direction of the public servant, then also one may hiring some person or workers from local person, and they are doing the work, but in furtherance of the direction of the public servant, and he also representing himself that I'm doing these things in direction of public servant, like electricians, they are doing the work cutting or putting connection, these things are very common. So I hope you can understand, and I'm just trying to improve every day, that I will what I will do to improve these things, and the which time and until which the right of private defense will exist. The simple thing is, whenever in your mind there is apprehension that I am subjected to be harm or bodily harm, whenever there is apprehension exist in your mind, till that you can use your private defense. This is one thing I wanted to point out. So for today it is just only to section 37 only. We will likely to continue this series, and I just wanted to say that if you stay here you will get the great understanding. I will not, actually I have no experience in teaching, but I will improve